Hey there, it's Jon Fleischman with SoDoesItMatter.com. And this is where we analyze California politics all the time. We call balls and strikes and look at the state of California through the lens of a constitutional conservative who's not afraid to call the shots. Anyways, it's time for our always very popular feature, The Worst Week in California Politics. And this week, Matt Mahan, the mayor of San Jose, is having the worst week in California politics, and it's not even close. The new Berkeley IGS poll that dropped yesterday has Mahan sitting at a pathetic 3.5%, 3.5. Let that sink in. This is a candidate who did not sneak into this race. He came in with money. He came in with media attention. He came in with a narrative, the moderate Democrat who was going to shake up the field. And right now, he is basically statistically irrelevant. Now, look, there are other candidates that are polling low. He's not the only one. Former Los Angeles mayor and former Assembly Speaker Antonio Villaraigosa has not caught fire. Former State Controller Betty Yee has not caught fire. State Superintendent of Public Instruction Tony Thurmond, as I like to say, the bitch of the California Teachers Association, he has not caught fire. They're all polling really low, and they're not lighting the world on fire, hardly. But here's the difference. None of them, none of those other three entered this race with the expectation that they were going to break it open. None of them had Silicon Valley money and media narrative behind them saying, this is the guy to watch. Mahan did. Mahan does. There's a lot of money coming in for him, but he's gone nowhere. In fact, especially in politics, you define people based on how they're doing against expectations. So in that regard, he may be going backwards. His campaign is stalled. It's not slowing down. It's not waiting for its moment. It is stalled. And why is that? I think it's because Mahan has a fundamental problem that he has not solved and may not be able to solve. And that's that he doesn't really seem to have a lane. He's trying to run as a moderate Democrat in a Democratic primary electorate that does not reward moderates. I mean, these are the most partisan, extreme times in politics that I have seen in my 35 years plus of being involved. And so trying to make yourself out to be some sort of moderate at a time when Democratic voters aren't looking for moderate, they're really looking for anti-Trump. But that's another story. At the same time, you know who he's not going to get in a partisan primary, which is in essence what it is when people's party designations are on the ballot? He's not going to get Republican voters. They're simply not going to cross over. Between Hilton and Bianco, they've got Republicans that they can vote for. And especially with this narrative out there that two Republicans might be able to make it, that's going to draw out more Republicans voting. Very excited about that opportunity. But Republican voters are not sitting around waiting to cast their ballot for a tech-backed Democrat who talks about pragmatism. It's not a thing. And let's remember, declined to state or NPP voters have a horrible record of turning out in the June election. They turn out much more solidly in the November election. Who are his voters? So right now the answer is he doesn't have any voters. 3.5% is a very pathetic place to be polling. And there are two political realities that make this even worse for Mahan. The first is that we're dealing with California's top two primary system. This is not about, hey, let me finish third and I'll build for the fall. This is about survival. You either make the top two or you're done. And if you think about the dynamic, sure, two Republicans could make it. I've articulated plenty of reasons why I don't think that's going to happen, because the unions will come in and spend a lot of money to lift one of the Republicans and lower down the other one. But the unions, as I'm going to talk about in a minute, do not want Mahan either. They're going to be busy boosting their preferred candidate or candidates and trying to knock the Republicans out altogether. Anyways, 3.5% is a really lousy place to be. You're not just losing. Frankly, you're not in the conversation. And this is a huge problem for somebody who was supposed to be a serious contender. Again, expectation level setting is a very dangerous thing when you don't meet those expectations. Could this change? Sure. But again, this brings Mahan's second problem. He's burning precious time to build up support before the state's unions start to carpet bomb him. They have less than no interest in him and will hit him hard when and if he starts to rise. Let's look at last week's action, or actually it might be earlier this week's action by the California Labor Federation. Their head, Lorena Gonzalez, made it clear as that group moved to endorse they endorsed four Democrats, showing that they're divided on who they support. They supported Swalwell, they supported Steyer, they supported Villaraigosa, and they supported Katie Porter. But what Lorena Gonzalez said is that by making those endorsements, by endorsing somebody or somebodies, as she says, it frees her up to go after the anti-union candidates. And I guarantee you, she puts Mahan in that category. So money's not fixing this, attention's not fixing this, and time is not Matt Mahan's friend. Because the longer he sits in single digits, the more voters and donors and operatives start to write him off. And once that happens, it's hard to reverse course. So, yes, there are other candidates with low numbers, but none of them are underperforming their expectations the way that Mahan is right now. None of them built this much hype only to flatline out of the gate. And that is why this week belongs to Matt Mahan, not as a rising star, but as the candidate who was supposed to shake up the race and instead can't even shake loose voters to get past 3.5% in the polls. You know what? Ballots go out in just over 6 weeks. That's not a long campaign anymore. It's a countdown. And if Mahan has a rabbit to pull out of his hat, this would be the time for him to work some magic and pull it out. But for this week, Matt Mahan had the worst week in California politics.